Davante Adams, thank you for stopping by. When you think back to your time as a Fresno State Bulldog, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
My second and last offer.
Yeah.
I didn't have a whole lot of love coming out. My first offer was from San Diego State, and they kind of stayed in relatively close communication with me, but Fresno was the school that really took a chance on the kid from East Palo Alto, man. I was, I had my head on straight, but I just wasn't applying myself to school the way I should have earlier on, in high school. So for them to come and show me love the way that they did and stay next to me the way that they did, and they pretty much pushed me to be the part of the man that I am today. So I give them a lot of credit for that.
It's rare for a player to admit their faults. A lot of guys just get in the tunnel of, oh, everybody overlooked me. It's not my fault. It's their fault. It's rare for someone to admit, no, there's things I could have done better.
Yeah.
Is that something you hope you can pass on to future recruits?
Absolutely, man. I mean, that's the number one thing. You always hear, stay in school, get good grades, listen to your parents. And you don't really understand how much that means until you get in a position where, you're a really good athlete. I didn't play football until my junior year in high school, so it was always basketball for me, but you're a really good athlete. You're in a position where you can, change the scope of your family's history, essentially. And, to have something in the way like schoolwork when you're a smart kid and you just weren't really applying yourself, not prioritizing the right way, I'll say it's a blessing in disguise, man. I obviously would not change the way that everything worked out for me at all. But I learned a lot from that, and I became a better man from it.
When did you finally feel comfortable at Fresno State? Because like you said, the concept of football is still new to you. Now you're implementing the college system.
Right. Well, when I first got there, I went there initially to play both. So the basketball and football was the hope to do that. But in the midst of getting acclimated and all of that to the college world now, I just found that it was way too much, and I was gonna miss the connection and camaraderie with certain teams if I'm out here, with football. Basketball's working out for the season the whole time, so you don't get that connection. So it was tough, man, and I had to redshirt that first year because of some clearinghouse situations. I had a summer school class to take going after I graduated high school to get into Fresno State.
Wow, yeah.
So
yeah.
I really made it tough on myself, man, but I challenged myself and it really just proved that I could do it as long as I applied myself.
But the beauty of all those speed bumps is draft day is just that much more special. What were those feelings like with you and your family, knowing everything you overcame?
First day was really emotional because I was kind of on the fringe if I would go first or second round. So of course ESPN, I didn't go to New York, but ESPN sent the cameras to the house, had a camera crew there, had a bunch of my family members. So real optimistic that I would go day one. Sat there the whole day, and then I had a couple ideas of some teams that I thought may take me. As soon as I saw such pick is in, and I didn't get a call, I'm like, they're tripping, man, they're tripping.
Right.
And then time goes by, and then at the end of the first round, I just remember sitting there with a mic on my chest, and my whole family just looking at me like, man, I know you feel terrible right now. Snatched it off, went upstairs.
Sure.
The next day, invited like half the people back.
Just in case, huh?
Just in
Because
case,
now
man.
you're worried. Yeah.
Now I don't know. And then I dropped to 53. So it's 32 picks in the first. So I'm like, that's pretty. It's the middle of the second now. I'm like, oh man, am I about to drop again? So it was real emotional, but. We ended up theming the clothing for the next day. We all wore black because it was everybody's funeral that they didn't pick me.
I love that. Now, second round pick is not an underdog by any stretch of the imagination, but what's that feeling like that first day of OTAs? Somewhat of a chip on your shoulder, but also grateful that a team did take a chance.
Absolutely. Honestly, when I was chosen, I had a little feeling going into it that I was like, a chip on my shoulder, all of that. But once I was actually selected, all of that went away, and I just thought about it in the moment, like, wow, I'm really in the league now. Like, this is official. When I first got there, I was really just like a kid in a candy store. I was ready to work, but it wasn't really like, oh, everybody tripping. Let me go in here and just dog everybody.
Yeah.
I had to fall in line. Definitely did what I could to stand out, show them that I was ready to play, but I definitely had to battle through some stuff.
It wasn't just an impact that you made early on in your NFL career. It was a big impact you made right away, especially in an Aaron Rodgers offense. Not anybody can just sit there and grasp it. What happened at Fresno State that allowed you to make such a quick impact?
Well, I think, honestly, the system that we were in, I had some really talented teammates. Obviously, Derek Carr is my quarterback, so I feel like every level I've been blessed with really good quarterbacks. My quarterback at high school was Christoph Bono, who's Steve Bono's son. Then I get Derek in college. So, I always had pretty good coaches as far as Steve being around us. some really good players with Derek and the other guys I was surrounded by there. So I feel like that put me in a good position to where I could kind of get used to what was about to happen.
Not sure how much college football you watched this year, but they're saying this could be one of the best receiver classes that there has ever been. Anybody stand out?
Other than yours, of
course.
Best class period. I don't know what camera we're on, but
let them know.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely peeped a little bit of the talent. A couple guys actually reached out to me on social media this past year because of a few different routes that went viral. A couple of these pages to check down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So people, a couple of them, the elite ones, hit me up, and that mean a lot to me. I still feel like a young dude in the league half the time, but I forget that I'm going into 7 and I'm real older than these cats.
Does it feel like 7?
It don't feel like 7 at all, man. I mean, it's pretty wild. I went through a lot this year with the toe injury and not being able to play. Usually when stuff like that happens, it kind of holds you back and makes everything seem like it's taking forever, but this is one of the fastest seasons I've ever been a part of.
What advice would you give to a young receiver coming into a system that wants to make an immediate impact as well?
I mean, just take your craft serious, man. Every opportunity you have, whether it's an individual during the season or you getting ready for the upcoming season, whatever it is, take it serious and stay off Instagram watching these releases and all this crazy stuff. Instagram is poisoning today's wide-out society. That's my take on that. I think that a lot of these guys doing a lot of weird hip stuff and do the real stuff. If you got any questions out there for the young cats in college, Davante Adams is here for you, man. Seriously, we laughing, but seriously,
I'm with you.
I'm here to help you out, man. I'm thinking about throwing a clinic this offseason. I'm just gonna send a random tweet out. So if you're in the Bay Area, we can come out and get it in.
Let's go more on that because the college game is different now. Like you just said, 7-on-7 culture, as some call it.
Right.
Some of it's not realistic. If you were a high school player going into college, is there any skill you would try to hone in on that you wouldn't in the past?
Well, it's tough. I think it's something that's more situational. It depends on what you think you need to work on. If you a blazing speed guy, I say that something that's really important for you is being able to stop that with that speed. A lot of these guys you see can move crazy going forward, but then when it's time to run a comeback, can you get in and out of that? You know what I mean? So work on things like that. If you got the quickness, and add to your overall speed. You know what I mean? Try to get that horsepower up a little bit. So different things like that. Obviously catching the ball is the most important part. So that's a really important thing. If you go into a team in the snow or playing with a gunslinger, it's a whole different ball game. So just train for what you need the most.
And the big thing as a receiver, whether you're young or veteran, is chemistry with your quarterback. You know where Aaron wants you to be. He knows where you're going to be.
Right.
If you're a young receiver, how do you establish that with your quarterback?
Well, it takes time. So the main thing is just getting the reps in. So, working out, like I said, in the off season, getting together with your quarterback just so you guys can understand each other. I feel like me and Aaron, we've had over 6 years now to really work at this thing, but now it gets to the point where a 3rd and 8 at the end of a game, he signals me something and I run it completely different, but he can fill out my body language just because of, we've done it before, and he's really good at reading receivers, but that's something that you also need to have those reps to get it down.
What are you most proud of adding to your game? Something maybe you thought you were lacking coming out of college that you're confident in now. You're known as the route runner, but there's many aspects to being a receiver. Yeah,
well, honestly, they didn't give me the he can really run all the routes coming out because it's not their fault. They didn't know, but a lot of it was due to the tree that we had in college. So if you're in one of the spread teams that runs slants, comeback and goes, then make sure you're working on that, because that's the type of things that I had to put in to prove to them at my pro day that I can run the comebacks. I can run a 10-yard in cut. I can run a 16-yard in cut. They want to see all those type of things in the most efficient way as possible. So that's something that I really put a lot of work in, because I didn't, I can move really well, but I didn't really have those type of routes in my tree, so I just took it serious and really labbed and tried to get better at that.
What do you miss most about your time at Fresno State?
Probably just my brothers, man. It's different. In the league, you definitely have your brothers and you care for them, the same way, but
there's that business aspect.
It's a business aspect. Guys come in and out a lot, so sometimes you don't even get attached to certain guys because they weren't there long enough. But if somebody's on your team at the beginning of the year, they're going to be with you at least for that, the remainder of that year. So you build those connections. You spend a lot of time outside. I don't party much at this point in my career, but we hang out.
4-month-old,
right? Yeah,
tough.
The baby slowed down a little bit, but just that type of thing, getting that off the field connection, the silliness. Just thinking back. That's probably one of the things I miss most.